Hey! 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 This is library.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 1 of Tell Me About That Book podcast. Short conversations about some of the best books on personal growth, mindset, fitness, and business topics with some of the leaders in the fitness industry. Any money made with the sponsorships and affiliate links of this podcast, we're going to go directly to Inner City Weightlifting, and you can find out more about them and what we're doing with readit4.me as well at tellmeaboutthatbook.com. So for today's show, I thought it was appropriate that I had on Steve Cunningham, and Steve is he's not in the fitness industry, but he's the founder and CEO of readit4.me, and it's basically the smartest and easiest way for entrepreneurs and leaders to learn what matters. They summarize best-selling business and personal development books and put them into 12-minute animated videos, audios, and text. Actually, the text is what's going to help me in this podcast, in future podcasts, to kind of direct conversations with my guests. But they help you turn your in-between moments into the most productive parts of your day. They have thousands of customers around the world. Testimonials from people like Tony Hsieh and Daniel Pink. I personally love his service. I bought a lifetime membership. They're doing some amazing things with charity. And a matter of fact, you know, the folks over at Inner City have been set up with memberships as well. But I'll let Steve tell us more about what they're doing over at readit4.me. Steve, thanks for doing this.
Thanks so much for having me. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, I like I said, I really love your service because I think for me, it helps me not only, I listen to a lot of books, most like probably 90% at this point. So it kind of helps me go back and summarize or get a different view or some things that I might have missed during listening. But give us an overview of what you're doing, because I love what you're doing at readit4.me.
Yeah, I think you got a lot of it in your intro there. Some of the benefits that you didn't mention that a lot of our customers tell us they get out of our service. We're blessed to have, like you said, thousands of customers. A lot of them are some of the world's most successful entrepreneurs and executives. And so if you want to know what books are on the top of mind of some of the world's most successful people, this is your place in order to get that done. So that's basically how we choose the books that we put into our system, as our requests from our customers. A lot of our customers use our service as a refresher, like you said, to books maybe they've already read or listened to. Some of our listeners use it to understand which books they want to take a deeper dive with. And one of the real differentiators with what we do is we create animated video. And so what that opens up is a bunch of use cases that wouldn't be available with audio or text. And the most common one is a group workshop. So if you got an event or meetup or a company retreat or just a team session with your people at work, it's a great way to stimulate some discussion around some of the world's greatest business ideas and kind of bring them to life inside your company or your group or your mastermind, whatever it is that you're up to. So there's a few extra points that I'd like to bring up besides what you already said.
Yeah, and you also have those like the kind of the guide for leading that group discussion as well.
Yeah, that's right. So with every one of the videos that we produce, we give you a discussion guide, which allows you to kind of start that discussion after you've watched the video. So, there's no dead air. And then, basically you're into an engaging discussion with the people around the table. But yeah, so we give you basically all the tools you need in order to make this come off like you've been planning it for weeks.
Yeah, nice. What I like too is that I think, you guys you're doing so much with charity. That's kind of what put me over the top, was when I found out how much you're giving to charity and how much you're giving to high schools with memberships. And then, you allow the gift memberships, like I can give somebody a gift membership for a month. So just give us a little overview of some of the charity stuff that you guys are doing there too.
Yeah, over the years, we've had a bunch of charities approach us asking if we have, discounted rates for charities. And the answer at the time was always no. And, we thought, you know, we've tried some discounting in the past and it just for one reason or another didn't go very well. So what we thought was if most of these charities A don't have the money to do this or B can't be seen to be spending the money to do this, we'll just make it free for them. And so, we want these ideas to get into the hands of the right people. And, some of the people doing the most important work on the planet are people who are working at charities. So we've made our service free for any charity around the world who wants to bring this to their organization. And then we also have a give back model with the charities that we work with. So a lot of our charity partners are looking for new and innovative ways to earn new revenue streams, to create support for programs that they're trying to launch. And so basically the idea is that if they share Read It For Me with their community and those people end up purchasing from Read It For Me, we share the revenue with the charity. So it's our way, obviously, of creating a win-win. It's obviously good for us if other people and companies buy our services, but we also want to help out our charity partners in the process. So, we're just getting started. I think this is going to be, a lifelong passion project for me. We've got some amazing charity partners already, adding new ones every week, and just super excited about what we're doing there.
Love it. And, like I said, we are working with Inner City Weightlifting, kind of a charity that is close to a lot of our hearts in Boston. And they're part of this now, too. But I think another great thing with what you guys have done is just this idea of this, there's a lot of summaries out there, but I think you guys really get to the nuts and bolts and having, like you said, just not only the audio, because everybody learns differently. So having the audio and having the text and then or the video is very cool. So great job. I just want one more question on your work here. How do you kind of keep up with doing all this? Because it's tough to do.
Yeah. So are you talking about me personally?
Yes,
How do I keep up with it? So, I think we're going to talk about the book, The One Thing. And the idea is I've stripped out things in my life that no longer serve me. So, a couple of years ago, we got rid of cable TV. We don't watch as much TV anymore. Every once in a while, we'll watch a show on iTunes. So we don't have that distraction at night. And I don't spend hardly any time on social media. So a lot of the things that would suck up 10, 20, 30 minutes here and there really add up, and I've been able to replace it with things that do make a difference, like reading these books and getting these ideas out to our customers. And it's not always easy. There's often days where I am pulling my hair out trying to get everything done, and or I'm exhausted. But it is, I think, the game is to remove things from your life. We still only have 24 hours in the day, and I've just been able to eliminate some of the things that I just realized weren't adding value.
Love it. Do you read them mostly, or do you listen as well?
I've tried listening. Reading is my thing. I don't watch a lot of videos myself, which is ironic. So I basically read all of the content that we summarize here. I do it mostly on my phone or my laptop. I don't read paper books anymore. And I kind of use those different devices at different stages in the summary. But we could talk about that. That's most people want to know how do I read a book a day, and actually I read the book 4 times to do a summary. That I got a system and a strategy for how I get through the books and pull out all the golden nuggets.
Nice. Well, let's talk about Gary Keller and Jay Papasan's The One Thing. Tell me about this book.
Well, it's a book premised on a simple question. And when people first hear the question, they focus on the first part of the question, and it's advice that everybody's heard before. You got to focus on, a minimal amount of things, or in this case, one thing. And so the question goes like this: what's the one thing you can do either this day, this week, this month, this year, this decade? Insert whatever time frame you want. And then the second part of it is such that everything else is easier or unnecessary. And I've talked to a lot of people about this book, and the message is that if you ask them what's this book about, they'll tell you it's about focus. It's about doing one thing. And I think that's actually not the point of this book. I think the point of this book is the second part of that question, which is such that everything else will be easier or unnecessary. And that's the part that really got me to think differently about how do I approach my day to day? How do I decide what things I'm going to be focused on today? Um, and over a span of time, doing that over and over and over again, you start to build up systems that support you in your mission, as opposed to you trying to figure out how to reinvent the wheel every single day. And so this is super relevant, especially to people who are solo entrepreneurs. Which I know a lot of your audience probably fits the bill of. So, like, to give you a concrete example, today I'm spending a lot of time talking to customers about a new product that we're going to be launching. And I think you've actually agreed to talk to me about it after we do this podcast. So that's not something that is, a burning priority. It's not going to produce any results for me today or tomorrow. But it is something that if we get it done this month is going to produce, a revenue stream for us that's going to be predictable, and it's going to be automatic. And so those are the types of things that I guess if anybody is familiar with Stephen Covey's oh my goodness, I'm totally drawing a blank on the title of his book. It's The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. He talks about the 4 quadrants, and there's an axis of urgent and important. Most of these things that you end up doing, if you follow this question, are not urgent but very important, and those are the things that set you up for long-term success. Another example would be, if you're doing any marketing. One of the things that you could be doing that make things easier or unnecessary in the future is to set up automation. And that's just one simple example, but you can apply this in any part of your life. And it's been transformative to me, not just because of the results that we've been getting because of it, but also because of just the mindset that I have day to day now.
Yeah, and I think, you brought up a good point about that question. What's the one thing I can do such that by doing everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Like looking at that second part of the question, but I also think it can be hard. I think for me, I kind of struggle sometimes with that piece of it in terms of I'm feeling like what's the most important right now, and not so much. It's like that's where I get stuck, where it doesn't always make everything easier or unnecessary. So I think that's the part for me personally that I'm really trying to get over.
Well, I think, I think most people hear this question and think that it's either or. And if you're an entrepreneur, especially a solo entrepreneur, there are things on your to-do list that absolutely have to get done today. And some of them are important and some of them are just urgent. And you can't ignore those things. And I think, the lesson of this book is not that you should ignore those things. It's that you should also be doing these other things that will set you up for success in the future. It'll make tomorrow easier if you did it today. And these are the things that you can easily push off, and it's not going to make a substantial impact to your life tomorrow or even maybe next week. But in the future, your success is really going to be predicated on the amount of these types of things you get done. And I think that's the distinction that needs to be made. It's not that you should do this at the expense of other things. It's you should also do this. And some days that means you're going to have to work really hard. It doesn't mean you get an easy life.
For me, I was kind of just in terms of other books that are similar, not similar, but kind of good books to go with it. Have you read The 4 Disciplines of Execution?
I don't believe I have. I think that's
Okay.
one that's on our list of books coming up, but I haven't read that one
Yeah,
yet.
kind of I'm just getting into it, and already they're talking a similar thing where look, like they were talking about with where he was talking about with in this book in the one thing. It's just not this idea of multitasking and doing too much, and you can't really focus on you can do 2 things, but you won't do them well.
Yeah, and I think that's a problem for any entrepreneur. Your list is a mile long, and there's competing priorities, and you certainly can't do more than one thing at one time, and that's just a scientific fact. And there's also a lot of science that shows that a lot of the work that will be the most important is what some people would call deep work, and it takes long stretches of time to get it done and to get it done well. And for me, getting a summary done and reading and having quiet time and focus would fit the bill. But so does putting together like a marketing automation series. This is not something you can bang out in 20 minutes a day. You need to set aside blocks of time. And so I think that's the challenge for entrepreneurs is to continuously refocusing themselves on those things, realizing you can only do one thing at a time, and that sometimes you do need those big chunks of time in order to get these important things done.
With certain things, though, I think. Let me ask you about your life. I mean, having to read these books every day. Is there something that you can do that will make that a little bit easier?
Sure. Let me give you an example. So for the longest time, it kind of fell on me to decide which books we were going to summarize, which meant I had to pay attention to a lot of books because, there's a lot of crap published every single year that shouldn't get into our system. And I need to actually, go through and read it in order to figure out, is this something that should go into our library? So, in one sense, we're a curation tool for our customers. That's a lot of work. And that would mean I need to read multiple books a day in order to get out the amount of content that we get out. So one of the things that we decided to do, and I think I alluded to this earlier, is we created a system that allowed our customers to tell us which books we should be summarizing, set it up so that it was easy for us to understand which books were being asked for. It's like, you can imagine if we originally started with just a text field, and then people would put in, people would call things differently, they would spell things wrong, and it was just really hard to work through. So eventually we came up with a solution that where our customers just paste in the Amazon link to the book, and that we strip out the information that tells us here's the book that they're actually requesting. So that took some time, took some effort, but ultimately it's going to save me so much work because I don't need to decide which books I want to read ever again. And that makes my job so much easier, and know that I'm serving our customers in the way that they want to be served. And, that's not something that's urgent. That wasn't something that, people were telling us, you need to do it today or I'm going to cancel my entire company's account. It was just a nice to have, but it makes everything so much easier on our end. So I think those are the types of things that sometimes require that extra bit of effort, so that next week, next month, next year, those things don't come up again.
Love it. This is such a great book, and like I said, I'm listening to most. The guy that actually did this, that read it, was really good too. Had a great voice, and made it even a little bit more interesting. And since you told me you were going to be doing this, I actually went online. They have a podcast, so something that I'm going to be listening to as well, because I think this is something that's really important for me personally, that I, along with deep work, which could be hard to implement, and now 4 disciplines of execution. So I think these are books that kind of go hand in hand. So great stuff. And I'll remind everybody, you can go on readitfor.me and sign up, and you're going to get these type of summaries, and they're really good and they're really funny. The videos are cool, and you could listen to them and you could read them, or you could watch the video. And if you have a group that you want to discuss with, they give you some notes for that too. So Steve, thanks so much for coming on today and talking about some of the great things that you guys are doing, and for talking about the one thing.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.